We're going to move on to Brie Larson. You're going to be happy about this one.
Boom.
You're going to be very happy to discuss this one. Everyone loves Brie Larson because she's so kind and she's so nice to everyone. But what happened was like, look, Hollywood celebrities in a lot of ways have been coddled. They're not used to actually being asked questions that they don't have an answer to, and they're not used to not being kind of fed the softballs, which is what they get most of the time.
She does look nice in this picture.
Oh yeah. She's looking good these days. She's in the trailer for the Marvels, looking quite nice. I never said she wasn't pretty. No, actually, I think I did at one point say she wasn't pretty. I changed my tune on that as well. I changed my tune on Martha Stewart's looks, and I changed my tune on Brie Larson. I can learn and grow, just like the left always says. You have to do better. I can do better, guys. So it says, during a tense moment at the 2023 Cannes Film Festival jury press conference on Tuesday, Brie Larson was asked if she'd be attending the premiere of the new Johnny Depp film. It's a French film that's coming out, given that she is an outspoken advocate of Time's Up. She's very, she's got to have to live up to the fact that she made a bunch of statements earlier on. She said, I think at one point she said, being a woman is living on the defense at all times, was something that she said. And now she's got to worry about whether she's going to go see a Johnny Depp film or not. Thoughts?
I don't really. I don't know what to say. She's just kind of terrible.
She is kind of terrible in a lot of ways. I think this is one of those things where they're not used to being asked questions that they don't already know the answer to, or they're not used to being asked questions that they might have to say something that isn't going to be framed in the nicest way. Right?
So she is basically saying that does she still agree that Amber Heard was the victim of that? Is that the case?
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, she's not used to, a lot of times they're not used to being given evidence to the contrary, right? Like, they don't like the idea of a person existing that kind of screws up their narrative.
It's all believe all women.
Yes. So they're not used to, and the same thing happened recently. Ruth Wilson, she was on Luther. She was Alice on Luther. She said that Hollywood doesn't have a moral backbone to stand on with all of this because of how awful the industry has always been. Right? Like, for every Harvey Weinstein, there are a bunch more that have never been caught and never got in trouble. He's just the one that became the scapegoat for everybody else. It's always been bad in the industry.
Part of the reason why Harvey Weinstein was the scapegoat is because of his connections to not just the industry, but to political people. Like, all the people that he's supposed to be, or that are supposed to be the good people, have, like, extensive pictures with Harvey Weinstein.
The Oprah picture is the creepiest.
The Oprah picture. There's Hillary Clinton pictures with Harvey Weinstein. There's a lot of people that are in, positions of authority and power that should not be hanging out with Harvey Weinstein, at least.
So this is what she said. She goes, "You're asking me that?" She replied, "I'm sorry. I don't understand the correlation or why me specifically."
When pressed
further, that was like, "Are you going to watch the the movie?" Well, you're a juror at Cannes, and they're showing, now this movie isn't up for an award, or it's not being reviewed there, but it is going to be shown there. So you're a juror. You watch movies as part of your job. It's not an unfair question. It's a very reasonable question.
I've never been surprised when people ask me if I've heard a metal band's new record.
You're not like, is there some controversy?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, the likelihood is that I haven't, but it's not a surprise that they would associate me with other metal bands that they care about. It's like, no, I mean, just act like a normal human being, Brie. Just act normal.
No, see, I think that it scares her because she realizes that having to speak on it means having to speak on the questionability of the claims that have been made by Amber Heard, who just recently retired from acting and moved to Madrid. And then, like, there was this hilarious article where, like, and she was speaking in perfect Spanish to the locals. So it's like, what kind of puff piece is this crap?
It's just tiresome.
Isn't it?
It's tiresome.
Well, and the thing is with Brie Larson, I think she actually she tried to do a decent amount of work to, like, revamp her image. Meaning, like, she was staying kind of quiet for the most part. She had a YouTube channel that didn't really work out. Like, it grew to a certain size, certainly bigger than the size of this podcast. But given the size of her platform before, that growth isn't always the most natural, right? Like, in a lot of ways, like, the growth of this show, which is something that I found very interesting, is like, I didn't always want it to be heavily promoted, like, by Tim or anyone on IRL all the time, because I wanted people to find their way here naturally, right? I wanted them to come here because they wanted to watch the show, not because somebody that they also watched told them to go watch it. And that's why I think a lot of bigger celebrities have a harder time making that transition to YouTube. It's not as authentic feeling when they do it. Like when Will Smith makes an apology video on a set, it just looks weird. right?
Yeah, YouTube. There's not very. It's not very you in the tube when it's done like that. You know, it's more like the production company tube.
Sometimes it makes sense though. Like with your example specifically, I think there are people who watch IRL who would be interested in checking out your show.
But I would prefer it like that. Do that once in a while, but I don't need it to be done every night.
Naturally a lot.
Yeah, because what happens then is subscriber growth might go up, but then views don't go up because they subscribe because somebody that they trust told them to do so. But if they don't have an inherent interest in what you're making, they're not going to be interested. They're not going to watch it. What's the point? I would rather smaller subscriber count but more invested viewers who actually want to watch the content and care about what we're talking about, even if what we're talking about is silly sometimes. It's what we love about it,
or a lot of times.
That's the reason we have pop culture crisis.
Exactly. Like you the whole point here is to not be serious all the time because the life is serious enough. I go on Twitter and I'm like, okay, that's enough for today. I don't need that much seriousness in my life all the time. I don't need to keep reading about the Durham report. I don't always need to do that. I want to be able to give people a reason to kind of step out of that and have some fun. You have to have the serious and you have to have the fun as well.
Yes.
But I do think this. I do think that a lot of these celebrities are now in an age where back in the day, the press was kind of like the check on those people, right? You expected the paparazzi to capture the embarrassing photo, to publish the embarrassing photo, to make the article that was going to be critical when they needed to be critical of these people. That's not the case anymore because now it's all controlled by access. Access media deems whether you're going to have the ability to interact with these people means that you have to say something nice, otherwise you're not going to have access to them. That's why nobody trusts movie reviewers anymore.
We were talking about this earlier, with the Kendall. I mentioned Kendall Jenner as an example. If Kendall Jenner calls the paparazzi, she's going to call the paparazzi that's nice to her. She's going to call the paparazzi that makes sure the pictures that he sells are her looking good. She's going to call because she'll know who they are. It won't take very long. She'll see, I like that pic. She'll look at who it was. I don't like this pic. Who took that? Why did he sell that? Yeah. That kind of stuff will happen real quick. And then, the celebrities will know, I can call this person. I can call this agency. I can make this, I can just say something in this forum. Like they can say something on Twitter or Instagram, blah, blah, blah. And maybe the paparazzi that they like will know, okay, I can go there and,
Speaking of this topic, Brie Larson and Amber Heard. Amber Heard, at one point, they said that she called ahead to TMZ to let them know that she was coming in to file a police report with a bruise on her face so that they could get photos of it and publish it because it would be good for her image to have those pictures out there. It's evil in a lot of ways, and it's why you need to always check yourself. Even if you agree with something one of these people say, understand that this is all a show, that it's all one big show, and we have to be able to parse through all of this information. Remember that what you're looking at, it may be real life, but it's still in a lot of ways a performance, even if it's in the real world. And the problem is now, as social media becomes more important, we'll see in a lot of ways that it's all you're kind of always part of this ongoing production, and it never goes away. The ability has to be on us. The onus is kind of on us to be able to parse through all of that and say, this looks manufactured. I'm skeptical of this. You have to always be skeptical, and that's hard for a lot of people, I think.
Especially when it's stuff that affirms your prior beliefs.
We have to check ourselves on that as well.
Yes.
Like just because you agree with this person or just because this person might be ideologically inclined with things that you believe does not mean that you should take it all at face value, ever.
Be very, very wary of people that are telling you things that you like to hear.
Especially if it's Brie Larson, then you definitely have to be scared. Because if Brie Larson is telling you stuff you want to hear, it's probably not good.
News, terrible news.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.